Doubt is not the absence of faith. It is the presence of a conflicting belief. And that's what makes doubt more dangerous than unbelief. We started something in the last session. We're going to finish it today on today's Kingdom Conversation with me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop. Let's get to it.
What you say, throw the old life away, throw it away, 'cause I've got potential to be what I dream, I can see, I believe, I can be, in time, potentially, in time, potentially. Could go to any place my heart says so. Gonna make it deep inside, I know, in time, potentially, in time.
Hey Kingdom family, welcome to another Kingdom Conversation with me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop. Always excited and delighted to be a part of your life and legacy. Well, we started something in the last session and it was all about doubt, getting the doubt out. And today I want to conclude that particular thought. Of course, doubt is not the absence of faith. It is the presence of conflicting beliefs. And what we've got to do is defeat that doubt, because the doubt is more dangerous than the unbelief, particularly when it comes to self-doubt. So if you didn't watch the previous installment, you need to stop right now, go back and watch the first installment, because that's what's going to give context to this concept. All right, don't just dive in, get the whole thing. I also want to remind you that this particular session is part of our mindset coaching system. So, we have coaching groups, particularly business coaching groups, but with all the business coaching that we deliver, we absolutely insist on regular mindset coaching. So every week I am mindset coaching, and what this session is, it's an episode from our mindset coaching program. So look, I want you to just grab hold of it, sit with it, take notes, and also watch it right the way through to the very end, because at the end I have some important and amazing announcements and opportunities for you. So you won't want to miss it. Okay, let's get to it right now. Get the doubt out. So let's look at the interruption. How does doubt actually creep in? How does it operate? What does it look like? So if you kind of look at Genesis 3, the fall of man, Eve, Adam, the serpent, the forbidden fruit, what you're going to see is the strategy of the devil for derailing destinies, right? And it's the same strategy regardless of the generation or location. Like it's the same strategy. To derail your destiny, the enemy must establish a stronghold in your mind. And the way that he establishes the stronghold in your mind is through this process. It's a suggestion that becomes a scenario that becomes a stronghold. Suggestion becomes a scenario, becomes a stronghold. The suggestion needs to be rebutted the minute that it comes in. This suggestion, you have to reject it, and you have to use. You have to verbally reject it. What do I mean by verbally reject it? I mean, you need an argument against it. So you will notice when Jesus was in the wilderness and being tempted, When the devil made the suggestion, Jesus rebutted immediately with, "It is written." It is written. In other words, you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you do, who you are, whose you are, what this is about, and you need to verbalize it, if not mentally, sometimes just verbally say, "I completely reject that suggestion. I utterly reject that suggestion for this reason." Because if you don't reject the suggestion, it will become a scenario. In other words, the suggestion is a seed, and it will start to grow roots, and those roots will show up in your imagination. You are now imagining scenarios that are inconsistent with the certainty you once had. You start imagining scenarios that are inconsistent with the promises that have been made to you. You start imagining scenarios that are inconsistent with your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, your destiny. You start entertaining these scenarios. You're now watching the movie. If you don't switch off the movie or change the channel, but you entertain imaginations, the imaginations will grow even bigger roots and become a stronghold. At what point is it a stronghold? It's a stronghold when you are acting as if what you believe may not be true. And this is very deep. Once you start acting as if what you believe may not be true, the suggestion has become a stronghold because it's now influencing your actions, your behavior, your words, your deeds. So understand the real psychological and spiritual anatomy of doubt. This pattern is the same from Genesis to today. Suggestion: the enemy introduces a conflicting idea or thought. What if you're wrong? What if you fail? What if you embarrass yourself? Suggestion. It's exactly how the serpent began with Eve, through suggestion. Entertain the suggestion, you're now having a conversation with a snake. Entertain the suggestion, it now becomes a scenario, an imaginary scenario. If you don't immediately reject the suggestion, it becomes a mental movie, and you start imagining or seeing yourself failing. You see the embarrassment and shame. You see a downfall. You see something going seriously wrong. You see poverty in your future. You see rejection. You're seeing these things now, okay? Or you're entertaining those possibilities. So you're entertaining the possibility that you're going to end up in disgrace, poverty, rejected, alone. You're entertaining this because the suggestion has become a scenario. It's a mental movie. If you don't shut down the scenario, you will begin acting as if God's truth may not be true. So when the New Testament says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations, scenarios. So the weapons of our warfare are designed to cast down the scenarios, the imagination, the conflicting narrative, the lie, casting down the imaginations, and and I know this is all King James language, right? Every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. What does that mean? Every conflicting narrative, everything that is casting doubt on what God has said, who God is, his nature, his character, his integrity. Once you entertain certain imaginations, you're actually making allegations against God. Now, watch this. If you start acting as if this, what I once believed may not be true, And let me translate this into leadership. The suggestion that you may fail or that you will fail becomes now a scenario in which you begin entertaining the possibility of failure with its financial implications, its reputational implications, all these implications, right? Now it's at the scenario stage. Then you begin acting as if that may happen, or you start acting as if the vision, the promises, the calling, the assignment may not be God, may not be real. Once you start acting as if this may not be true, it has become a stronghold. It's a stronghold. So the example is that you know you're called, but you act like you're unqualified. You know God is with you, but you act as if you're alone. You know you're anointed, but you act like you're not supported. You're acting in a way that's incompatible with what you say you know. That is the evidence of internal conflict. That is doubt. It's much more dangerous than unbelief. The unbeliever is not going through any of this. The believer is the one that's going through this. Doubt is something that happens to believe. You have to have a degree of faith in the first place to even experience doubt. This is a sign that doubt has matured into a stronghold. Now, this is so powerful. So watch this. A stronghold isn't a demon. Now, some say, "Oh, I'm gonna cast out this stronghold." No, you're not going to cast out a stronghold. You have to tear it down. You have to tear it down. So casting down. So casting down imaginations. You can't cast out a stronghold. You have to deconstruct it, tear it down, because it's not a demon. It's a conclusion you've consistently acted on. It's a conclusion that you're acting on. That's what the stronghold actually is, a conclusion. And if it's a demon, you can cast it out. If it's a conclusion, you have to tear it down. You have to reach another conclusion. You have to disarm and dismantle that conclusion and reach another conclusion if you are going to tear down the stronghold. So why is this important? It's important because faith is spiritual currency. It's not a form of currency, it actually is currency. Faith purchases things out of the spiritual world and brings them into the material world. Like everything in the material world existed in the spiritual realm before it became physical. Like, where was the planet before the planet existed? The planet was in God. Where was the internet before it existed? It was in the realm of possibility and potential. Where were airplanes? Where were telephones? Where were computers before they were invented? They were in this field of human potential. They were spiritual. They were first imaginations. They were first ideas. What actually purchases things out of the spiritual realm, translates them into physical things, is faith. It's spirit. It's currency. It buys things. So again, Hebrews is really good with this, because Hebrews 11 says, by faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which appear. In other words, every physical thing has spiritual roots. How do you get something out of the spiritual world into the physical world? You purchase it with a currency called faith. Everything that exists in this physical world came out of a realm and required faith to come out. Say, well, what about creation? Did that require faith? Yes, that's God's faith, right? That's God's faith. Jesus said in Mark 11, I don't know why I'm doing such a Bible study today. In Mark 11, he said, have the faith of God. And I know it reads have faith in God. In the Greek, it's have the faith of God. So God materializes his intention by faith. We materialize our intention, our imagination, our aspirations by faith. Without faith, it's impossible, right? It's just impossible. But all things are possible to him that believes. So faith is like everything. You can't materialize your ideas without faith. You cannot manifest your intention without faith. You cannot translate an idea into an item or an income without faith. Faith is the currency. Faith is what pulls unseen realities into the visible world. Everything that exists materially was first purchased spiritually by faith. But here's the issue. The unbeliever also uses faith. She said the unbeliever actually uses faith, but it's faith in a lie. It's faith in reverse. Unbelief is a form of faith. It's faith going the wrong way. It's faith in a lie instead of faith in the truth. The believer's faith is different to the unbeliever's faith. The unbeliever's faith is faith, but it's faith in a lie. The believer's faith is faith in the truth. But doubt devalues your spiritual currency and makes your faith inconsistent, unstable, and weakened by internal conflict. In this respect, doubt is a form of inflation. Now, what is inflation? Right? If you ask the average, what is inflation? They will say, what's the rising cost of living? The rising cost of living. I'll say, do you know how much a loaf of bread used to cost 10 years ago compared to what it costs now? A pint of milk 10 years ago compared to what it costs now. A house 10 years ago compared to what it costs now. It is rising cost of living. So we're looking at the cost of things rising. And if the inflation rate is high, it means that the speed at which the cost of things is rising is too fast. If it happens too fast, right, it gets ahead of wages increasing, right? So if people's wages are not increasing, but the cost of things is increasing, then we have a cost of living crisis. That's inflation. It's what inflation looks like in physical monetary currency. Fiat currency, actually, but monetary currencies. Well, doubt is like an inflation rate on your faith. Why? Because inflation isn't really the rising cost of living. Inflation is the deflation of your currency. Your currency is becoming weaker, so that what a dollar could buy 10 years ago, it can't buy today, because it's the currency that's getting weaker. Like, things are not, a pint of milk is a pint of milk, but because the currency is weaker, it takes more dollars to buy the same pint of milk. So what's happening with people's faith is that doubt is creating inflation, so that your faith can't buy what it used to buy. Like when you have certainty, your faith can buy a lot. When you have doubt, it's weakened and it can't really buy anything. So I've got point number 4 here. Doubt is the inflation on your spiritual currency. It lowers the value and effectiveness of your faith. This is why doubters struggle to manifest what God promised, not because the promise is weak, but because the currency is unstable. So I can't purchase things out of the spiritual realm if my spiritual currency is weak and unstable because of doubt. Now, does the Bible say any of this? Well, James says, look, if you lack wisdom, ask God, who could give you freely, right? But he says, ask in faith, nothing wavering. In other words, ask in faith without doubt. Because he that wavers is like a wave of the, it's like a waves in the sea that's driven by the wind, right? It's here for a minute, it's gone. Then he says, let not that man think he will receive anything from the Lord. What? Like doubt is like monopoly money in the spiritual world. It's not true currency. So you can't come to God with doubt and expect to purchase something from the heavenly store. You can't do it. Because doubt closes the heavens. That's why it's dangerous. That's why you need to make this the enemy. Like, I won't entertain doubt because I lose my spiritual currency. I lose my spiritual wealth. I lose my ability to manifest or materialize things. So how do you defeat doubt? So let's go into the defeating of doubt. There are 4 things I'm going to suggest that we do to defeat the doubt, dismantle it. So the first, and I know different people use this phrase to mean different things. I'm not a new ager. I'm not using this in those contexts, but in a biblical context. I think we should redeem phrases that have been misused, right? So visualization is really your mental movie, and it changed the scenario, right? So you need to intentionally watch the movie that's called Victory at Last. Just create the movie of your own destiny and see yourself winning. See yourself becoming, doing, building, and receiving everything that God destined for you. Everything you were designed and destined to be, do, and have. Sit down sometime and watch yourself winning. Right? Just create a new movie. Watch yourself winning. Watch yourself growing. Watch yourself glowing. Watch yourself flowing. Watch yourself winning. Begin to intentionally watch that movie, and eventually it will become habitual that you keep seeing yourself winning. You think of yourself as the winner. You'll describe yourself as the winner, because you see yourself as the winner. Now, every athlete has to do this. Athletes have to do this. Because if they can't see themselves winning, they'll never see themselves winning. You have to see yourself winning before the race begins. Otherwise, why in the race? At an Olympic level, you're not playing to participate. You're playing to win. And there's certain things in life. There are games in life. You can't play to participate. You must play to win. Like money is a game, right? Very much is a game. And some people play to participate. Other people play to win. You must play to win because your legacy and your leadership depends on you winning in this area. So play to win and see yourself winning financially. In terms of your leadership, we don't play to participate. We play to win. So you must see yourself winning as a leader. Building an organization, building a business, building a ministry, building impact. See yourself. Watch that movie intentionally, because it's not easy. It's not naturally. It's not a natural movie. It's a movie you have to direct and produce, and watch that as often as you can in your mind. So number 2 is affirmation, right? So affirmation is about programming your identity. So it's statements. I am statements. I can statements. I will statements. So there's 3 types of affirmation. I am affirmations. I can affirmations. I will affirmations. And you want to make those affirmations. And I think, the Bible is just loaded with things that we can say I am, things that we can say I can, things I can say I will. We have to make the affirmations, because with the mouth, I did not expect this to turn into a Bible study, but it has. With the mouth, confession is made unto salvation. The Bible says, with the heart a man believes unto righteousness, but with the mouth confession is made to salvation. You confess things and speak them into being. You speak them into being in exactly the same way that God does in Genesis 1. Speak your world into being. And don't just hope your world into beginning. Don't just work your world into being. Speak your world into being. Affirmations, right? And number 3 is declarations. I love this. Declarations. What's the declaration? This is when you speak to your future and announce outcomes and prophesy into your own destiny. And then this is the Psalms. You read the Psalms, David is literally telling his enemies that exactly what's going to happen to them. He is declaring that God is with him, for him, surrounding him. It is what he really, in some of these Psalms, he's really singing battle songs against the enemy. And sometimes you have to declare or to kind of make these prophecies about yourself. And if that's too strong a word, predict your future. Start predicting your future, right? Predict that you're going to be healthier. Predict that you're going to be wealthier. Predict you're going to be happier. Predict that your leadership is going to create legacy. Predict that greatness, the seeds of greatness have been sown in me by God. The success seeds were sown in me before I appeared in the world. You just begin to say things and declare things, right? Because by doing this, now, I would also surround myself with affirmation and declaration. So I listen to songs that affirm my calling and assignment and that speak to me of greatness to come, right? So some of the pictures you have in your home should speak of your future, right? Some of the things that you surround yourself with, they're a form of affirmation and declaration. And I've used these sometimes as screensavers on my phone and seen them materialize. Affirmation, declaration. But here's the final one, big one, is preparation. Preparation means you defeat doubt by preparing for victory. Like, one of the ways you can literally defeat your doubts is by simply making ready for your success. Because preparation is the evidence of expectation. So when you prepare, you prove that you're expecting God to do what he's promised. So if you're studying a skill, it's because you're preparing for mastery. If you're investing in coaching, you're preparing for elevation. If you start to learn money so you can become financially intelligent, right? It's because you're preparing for abundance. A pregnant mother is preparing the nursery, right? We say she's expecting, right? She's expecting. And that's what we have to become, pregnant with all of these promises to where we are expecting. And now we're expecting, we're making preparations. So by simply making preparation, you are defeating your doubts. And it is so important that we defeat the doubt, because the doubt is the enemy. So as we close this series, this is what I want you to carry. Doubt is the enemy of your leadership. Doubt is the enemy of your desired lifestyle. Doubt is the enemy of your legacy. It disrupts your momentum, breaks your confidence, interrupts obedience, destabilizes your decision, and makes you sink where you should be standing. You cannot pass on what you do not stand on. Woo! You cannot pass on what you do not stand on. So fight the doubt, protect your future, and secure your legacy, because your future has no greater enemy than doubt. I know I talked about fear. I talked about ignorance. You know what opens the door to those things is doubt, self-doubt, doubting you. So we're going to defeat this. And we're going to win. Okay, friends, I trust you enjoyed that presentation. Look, I don't want you to go before you watch these ads, because these ads are going to introduce you to some opportunities, free opportunities to glean even more from our ministry. Of course, we broadcast on YouTube on a weekly basis, but we have private communities, and in those private communities we are sharing some real nuts and bolts and how to make it happen as an entrepreneur that's called to the marketplace for such a time as this. So you don't want to miss these ads. Stay tuned, watch the ads, do respond. I hope to see you and meet you, greet you on the other side. Peace.
What if everything you've been taught about money, prosperity, and God's intention for the earth has been too small, too narrow, and totally disconnected from the original plan? What if your struggle has never been about your potential, but about your perspective? And what if the real economy, the one God designed before the foundations of the world, has been waiting for you to discover it? Well, that's why I wrote Kingdom Economics. And before this book is released to the world, I want to give you an opportunity to get ahead of everyone else, to join the waiting list and to be among the first to access a revelation that is going to redefine how you see wealth, work, stewardship, and purpose. Kingdom Economics is not another book about money. It's a prophetic blueprint. It's the rediscovery of God's original purpose for global prosperity, the prosperity of nations, families, and kingdom citizens. It'll show you that God has a purpose, a plan, and a process for your increase, and that everything He designed for you begins with alignment, not anxiety. From Eden to Abraham to Christ, this book reveals a pattern. God never intended scarcity. God never mandated smallness. God never glorified survival. He created you for dominion, productivity, influence, and generational impact. But here's the important part. The book is not yet released, and before we make it available publicly, I want to open the doors for those who are hungry, ready, and positioned to join the waiting list. And to reward early action, I'm giving something special. The first 50 people who join the waiting list and purchase the book on release day will receive the full audiobook version completely free. That's right, buy the physical or digital book on release day, and if you're among the first 50 buyers from the waiting list, the professionally narrated audiobook is yours at no cost. This will allow you to not only read the revelation, but also hear it, meditate on it, and carry it with you as you rise into a new economic reality. Join the waiting list today, be among the first to receive Kingdom Economics when it launches, and secure your chance to receive the audiobook absolutely free. This book will challenge you, stretch you, correct you, elevate you, and align you with God's original design for your life. Your future is calling, your assignment is calling, and creation is groaning for what you will build next. Join the waiting list now and be one of the first 50 to claim the free audiobook when Kingdom Economics is released.
Hi, I'm Bishop Wayne. According to the Bible, there are only two paths to prosperity. One involves the pursuit of peace, and the other is led by peace. If you could, which would you choose? I would choose the path that is led by peace and reject the one that promises peace at the end. One is driven by a material worldview, while the other is informed by a spiritual worldview. Let me explain. What if money at its root is a spiritual substance freely given by God to the believer? What if the marketplace is actually driven by faith, not finances? Meaning, what if what drives the economy isn't money at all, but rather beliefs? What if creativity wasn't about making something new, but about drawing something hidden out of what's already been given? What if effective selling is not about scripts, persuasion, or coercion, but rather the art of igniting beliefs, awakening consciousness, and shifting how people see what's possible and available? What if the real determining factors for success aren't the tangibles like branding, marketing strategy, sales technique, or modern apps, but rather the intangibles like core beliefs, standards, and internal philosophy? What I'm sharing with you is a spiritual worldview that gives the ultimate advantage for entrepreneurs and wealth creators. The truth is, you can have all the pieces of the puzzle together, and yet the picture has no soul or life. If you are doing all you know but not getting all you want, the problem is not with your doing, it is with your being. The answer is not to do more, but rather to be more so you can do less and get more. With God's economy, being comes first, then out of your highest being comes your best doing, and out of that, your greatest rewards. There is a spiritual way to build, create, and multiply, and I will unpack it with detail and precision over 4 days at the Power to Get Wealth Challenge. Click the link to find out more. Hey, I'm Bishop Wayne Malcolm, author, coach, and founder of the Epic Kingdom Network. If you've ever felt like something's missing in what you've been taught about Christianity, you're not wrong. Most of us were taught that heaven and the hereafter are the goal, prize, and sole objective of the faith. But the original message of Christ taught us to engage, to influence, and to transform the world. Believe it or not, Jesus didn't die to get us into heaven. He died to get heaven into us, and then through us into the earth. What if I told you that Christianity was never meant to be a religion, but rather a relationship and a global revolution? A divine intervention, not a man-made institution. The original message and mission of Christ was hijacked, diluted, distorted, and replaced with a religion. My new ebook, Kingdom Theology for Kingdom Citizens, is not just another devotional, it's a call to action. A bold reintroduction to the original message of Christ, a message of dominion, not escapism, of transformation, not tradition. You'll learn what it means to rule and reign with Christ, to steward wealth with purpose, to influence government, education, culture, and business as an ambassador of heaven. This book will shift your lens, stir your spirit, and set you on course with divine clarity. And right now, for a limited time, I'm giving you free access to the digital and audiobook versions. No cost, no catch. Just click the link in the description, grab your copy, and step into clarity.
Hey there, entrepreneurs! If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne, and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.